Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Council and Committee for the Town of Petawawa to order for November 10th, 2025. Welcome, members of council, staff. We'll begin this evening's meeting with the reading of the land acknowledgement, and this evening it's Councillor Franklin.
Thank you, Mayor Service. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Onami-Wenini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Onami-Wenini people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Calls to action number 75. We call upon the federal government to work with provincial, territorial, and municipal governments, churches, Aboriginal communities, former residential school students, and current landowners to develop and implement strategies and procedures for the ongoing identification, documentation, maintenance, commemoration, and protection of residential school cemeteries or other sites on which residential school children were buried. This is to include the provision of appropriate memorial ceremonies and commemorative markers to honor the deceased children. Recent progress. The Residential Schools Missing Children Community Support Fund currently has 146 agreements in place with Indigenous communities and partners for a total of $216.6 million as of April 26, 2024. These funds will support community-led and survivor-centric efforts to locate, document, and memorialize burial sites associated with former Indian residential schools and honor families' wishes to repatriate children's remains.
Thank you, Councillor Carmody. As we are all aware, tomorrow is Remembrance Day here in Canada, a date when we honor our veterans, our currently serving members, and their families who have all sacrificed so much in the service of our country. So I would ask everybody present to please join me in standing for a moment of silent reflection in honor of our veterans. Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? Seeing none, we'll get right into it with the Public Works Monthly Activity Report. Chris, you're up.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor Service and members of council. Good evening. We'll start with our civic properties update. And we have quite a bit of good news. So wanted to say it's great to have everybody back in our usual home for council meetings. I just wanted to express thanks to members of council and also to staff who have been so patient with getting us to this point. But I think the results are starting to show, which is fantastic. A couple of updates with regards to the completion of the project. The accessible reception counter and security glass are to be completed by the week of November 14th. And then the front entrance vestibule by the end of the month. So the project is wrapping up, which is great to see. The Civic Center parking lot, good update there as well. The parking lot paving, pickleball court paving is all complete now. As well, the parking lot line painting is complete. So all that's left for that project is the fencing installed. The poles are up, the fencing poles are up. It's just the chain link fencing, and that's going to be done next week. And then we just have the parking lot lighting poles to install, and they will be early to mid-December. There were some delays on getting those shipped, which was out of anyone's hands, but the electrical is all in, so it's just a matter of bolting the poles down, doing the electrical connection, and that will wrap up that project. The only thing left for council deliberation and then for 2026 will be the approval of the costs for the ceiling and painting of the pickleball courts. But the project is getting close to completion. Under water and sewer projects, our sanitary sewer upgrade through Pinehurst Estates was effectively complete today as far as the work. So today they did the CCTV of the new sanitary sewer and removed all the bypass sewer pumps. So all that's left this week is they have 2 small culverts to replace and then restoration works to the road, ensuring that people's lawns have been cleaned up, all the debris from the construction is cleaned up, and then final grading of the roadway prior to winter. So that project is pretty much at substantial completion. I'm sure we'll be getting a letter this week. The water tower rehabilitation on Water Tower Road is also proceeding nicely with completion the last week of November. All the exterior works that are complete. It's just interior works now. They have 2 crews. One crew is working in the tank and one crew is working in the pump room at the base of the tower, completing all those upgrades. But the project overall is going really well. The disinfection byproducts reduction study continues. And then I do have an update on net zero, some good news there. We've achieved our Electrical Safety Association and our TSSA, Technical Safety Standards Association approvals. We've been working at these for a long time, but we have the letters now with those approvals as of October. So our next steps, I believe this week, Trevor will be submitting our REA amendment to the MACP, and once we have that approval, that paves the way for 2026. So essentially what we're looking at next year is final commissioning. So that will include the construction of the secondary containment, commissioning of the digesters 3 and 4, which have passed all their pressure tests for their new roofs, which is great news. So we'll commission those with wastewater sludge. As soon as that commissioning is complete, we'll move into the introduction of the feedstock and the commissioning of the central heating plant, and then the best part of the project, which will be seeing the energy returns coming back. So we're almost there. It's been a long project. I can say I've had some very good discussions with Nishan Pillai. Nishan is the Director of Project Management for Energia. We've spoken about 3 times now in the last couple of months, and he's been excellent to work with. He understands that there's been a lot of delays, a lot of pressure to get this project completed, and he is still 100% committed to seeing it through. And at the end of this project, I'm confident we're going to see the results that were expected when it was launched in 2022, I believe. So I'm happy to report on that. Under road construction projects, we have for Norman Street, we have our property encroachment issue dealt with. So we are proceeding to tender on November 18th. So as I mentioned in my report, we proceeded with the design for the parking lot portion of the design for Kitty Land. That was not part of the original scope for the work, so it'll be included in the tender as a provisional item and subject to council approval in 2026. If it's not approved, no problem, but we have that design complete, so it's nice to have that. Even if it's not approved, it's another component of that project, and it'll be ready to go when we do have the proper financing in place for it. The closing, I believe, will be at the December 15th for that project. So we finally have that back on track as well. Under our PXO installations, more good news. We've reached substantial completion. I received a letter today for the PXO at Herman Street Elementary School. The PXO poles is all we're waiting on. The signage is in, line painting is complete, concrete works are complete, paving works are complete, and I'm hoping that this week we'll see the poles come in, so that PXO will be completed. And then the PXO on Herman Street at Doran. That project it's been tough. We've experienced a lot of delays, but essentially every time I called to see what the delays were, it was the fact that everybody's fighting over the same concrete contractor in town, which is Greenwood, and there's only two to choose from, so it's been tough to get them in. But the good news is they're working the hydrovac this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and concrete pouring this week. Paraffin will be doing the PXO installs to follow. So the good news there is it's been delayed, but we are seeing some progress on that front. And then I included in my monthly report a completed projects list just to keep council up to date on what we have completed. And I'm hoping in the December meeting that list is a lot longer, which would be great. Also under 2026 planning, I mentioned there that budget planning is commenced within our department. Had some good meetings with Teddy and Ted, as well as Brad Sweet, already starting to formulate a plan for 2026. And as well, we're planning and ramping up for our Ontario Road Supervisors Annual Municipal Trade Show being hosted here at the Petawawa Civic Centre on June 34th. Great news, we have 95% of our booths sold to date. So I think we're actually probably going to be looking for some more booths, which is a good problem to have. All right, under operations, the only highlight under maintenance activities, I just wanted to highlight the Algonquin Trail, the Four Season Bridge, which is the only bridge that the town of Petawawa actually owns, and we are upgrading it nicely. So we've replaced 100 boards to date. We have 120 left to replace, so we're looking at either completing them all in 2026 or half in 2026, half in 2027. But essentially, within the next 2 years, the entire deck of that bridge will have been replaced in-house by public works staff, which is a commendable job by staff. It's not easy, and they've been doing a really good job on it, so I want to highlight that. And then under operations, Teddy mentioned the informal quotation for ditching and reinstatement at various problematic spring flooding locations. So it's good work by staff that we're tracking areas that we encounter issues in the spring, and then we focus our maintenance activities on those areas. So they included McKay Street, Heritage, Bootsman and Selly, and Nuthatch Cardinal. Those were some areas that we did some preventative maintenance ditching. So we're hoping those activities pay off in the spring of 2026. We've also just about completed our ditching and restoration work on Wilbert Street. So again, that's a two-phased approach that I like to take for jobs where we complete the ditching, culvert, and drainage work, and then we look to complete the road works in the subsequent year. It worked really well with industrial. We did the same concept there, so we'll look to do the same, but we had positive feedback from the residents on Wilbur Street who were really happy to see maintenance work being done in front of their homes. And of course, a lot of them were asking if the follow-up was going to be some road work, so we'll bring that to council for deliberation. As well, we awarded a quotation for catch basin cleaning. This is something that I've been working on for a couple of years now, and that's annual maintenance of pumping out our catch basins. It hasn't really been done properly here, to be honest, but we're correcting that now. So what we want to do is we want to be maintaining, whether it's a third or a half or a quarter of all the town's catch basins and pumping them in sequence each year, so that over a 1 or 2 or 3 year period, all the catch basins continually are pumped, because inevitably the sand from the catch basins gets into our OGS systems and could cause issues with those. So good preventative maintenance. Nice to see our public works department moving in that direction. And the last line item was about work orders, which I'm really excited about. So we processed 15 in the month of October, getting good feedback from Teddy and the staff on these, and more to come with work orders. But nice to see it finally starting to happen within our department. All right, under Public Works, the only item there that I wanted to highlight was the Easy HVAC item. So we completed paving of a new sidewalk there. The intention was to regrade the sidewalk to keep water out of the easy HVAC property. It's been a problem area with flooding. So the town has been proactive. We've completed ditching, we've completed some additional drywall installations, and now we've repaved the sidewalk. So from the town's perspective, we've done everything we can now to support that business and do our very best to keep roadway water out of their property. There were 64 locates completed in the month of October. And then on the next page, we have page 6, our public notifications and procurement updates, another busy month. Under operations, wanted to just give a good shout out to our Civic Properties Division. Ted Marcotte has been with the town now for over a year. I believe he was a year in September, and I'm really starting to see the change in the department structure. It's starting to pay dividends. Ted's doing a fantastic job, and we're seeing it here in the report. Replacement of 2 exterior doors at Station 1, new floor drain grates at Station 2, Silver Thread's annual fire alarm testing completed, quotations on air exchange upgrades. So we're starting to see a department coming together now and addressing the maintenance items at our municipal buildings a little bit more proactively rather than the way it's been in the past, which was very reactionary. So I'm happy to see that. And again, last Friday I was here when everybody was working to get the council chambers back into shape and ready for this week. And it was nice to see Ted and the Civic Properties staff all busy here working, seeing some good teamwork. So it's positive for sure. Underwater and sanitary reports, nothing really out of the ordinary to flag there. Good completion rate for work orders. But other than that, I didn't see anything to mention, so that's my monthly report, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Chris. That was a very wholesome report. There's awful lot going on. Okay, I'll open it up to members of the council. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris, a lot of work there. And I like that there's so much being done in-house, the proactive work being done. I'm glad we're helping our businesses as well, that people who had problem on the boulevard there. It's also nice to see that net zero. I had great concerns about that, and now that I'm being reassured that things are in hand and coming forward, because I know this has been some concerns to members of the council, so it's nice to see this coming forward. So looking forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Councilor Government.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question on your catch basin meeting.
Yes.
Do we have the equipment in the town, or is it something you'll have to source out?
Through the chair to Councillor Donovan, yes, it's contracted out for hydrovac services.
Thank you.
Councilor Kerman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report, Chris. I'll echo Councillor Roots' comments about the net zero. It's great to see some positive news coming out of that department, because there was some question marks there. And also nice to see a lot of preventive maintenance being done. I know it's not always easy to point out something that didn't happen, like next spring, hey, there was no flooding there. But I mean, maybe it would be, that's something that you could, do a follow-up report on, our maintenance activities that we did last fall did result in less flooding in these particular areas as we predict.
Absolutely.
So that would be something of value. Thanks for all the work.
You're welcome.
It's been an excellent season.
Sure, Hans.
Further questions or comments? I'd just like to ask a question about the AVL provider Lynxfield equipment on the fleet. I know that Lynxfield was involved with the work order system, but what is it, the equipment that they're putting on the fleet?
Okay, so we had a different supplier for many years that we've since moved away from. So Lynxfield is looking after the AVL tracking of all our fleet, work order generation, but also they have asset management components. So what we've done actually today, Trevor and I are sending out letters to a couple of our service providers. One is a GIS provider and another is StreetLogix, and we are canceling those items. So it's a good cost savings for the town. And what we're trying to do is with Lynxfield is have one program to do all those items rather than having 3 or 4 different platforms. And really what you're doing is you're not using any of the platforms to their full capability. And that's what we've really found with all these different so-called we solve all your problem computer programs. So we're really trying to use Lynxfield as the one program that now is going to work for the town, and with that save the town money by not having so many platforms that we use. That's the intention.
Well, that's perfect. That sounds great. And yeah, great work on the boulevard drainage flooding issue there in front of Easy HVAC. I know that the county and the town have been struggling with that, and hopefully we finally found a solution to that problem. So that's great work. And yeah, I'll echo your comments on Ed and the whole new restructuring of the department. I know we have quite a few buildings, municipal buildings here in Petawawa, and it doesn't seem to matter which building I go to, Ted is there. It's almost like we have 7 Teds. Wherever I go, Ted's in the building. So great work on the restructuring, and it seems to be turning on. Any further questions or comments? Okay, then I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the Public Works Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we'll go to the Public Works Budget Report. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so I think a little bit of background on this will help alleviate some concerns at the council level, because I had the same concerns when I read the budget report. So within the budget report for transportation, it shows at the end of the report that our department has spent 95.72% of the budget. That is not correct. I am not leaving a lot of wiggle room. So that's not correct. What happened there, and I may not be explaining this properly, so I might need help from finance, but essentially the 2.813 million which is the Public Works addition, that's being shown as in the budget as a revenue. So what it's doing is the actual budget that I have, not including water and sewer, okay, just including operating and maintenance and capital, is 8,101,000 and change, okay? But the way the budget is showing at the end, it's showing that the grand total is 5.287, which is not correct. So just so everybody here understands, my budget is actually around 65% at its current stage, okay, which is a really good position to be in, being in November. So I'm forecasting, I'm hoping to be around 80-85% by the time the year is all complete, or maybe even a little more, depending on how it goes with maintenance programs. But just so council knows, I have not spent 95% of the budget. Okay, that's very important to have explained. So, and that will lead into, because I know there'll be questions with regards to Black Bay Road, because it stands out quite a bit for the costing there. But when we did the road maintenance agreement between the town and BEI, there were certain aspects of the project that we had, paving, some granular, the tack coat. There were certain items that we had an understanding that BEI was paying X number of dollars and the town was investing X number of dollars. However, there were items associated with that project that were not tied in with that road maintenance agreement. Pulverizing, the water truck that was required for dust control, the guide rail upgrades, and culvert upgrades along the shoulder. So what we did during the budget deliberations was Teddy and I built into the O&M budgets the required amounts to cover off those amounts. So although when you're looking at Black Bay Road, you're seeing an overage, that's because the finance department, and they're right, the finance department is correct. We should be showing all the costs of a road maintenance project in one account. We shouldn't be dividing it up and sprinkling it all over, because it's much better to look at a wholesome, how much did the project cost, start to finish. And that way, when we do further roadworks, further in-house roadworks, you can go back to your inventory and look at all the different projects you did and have a good understanding of the various costs. So, but just so council is understanding of what went on here, there are underspent items within the O&M budget to cover off the overages in Black Bay Road. So I'm not concerned with the overage. Everything will work out at the end of the fiscal year. There are some projects that we're not going to pursue. One in particular is Jason Street. It was budgeted at $85,000. We're going to hold off on that. We were looking at a smaller project, but the test pits we've done show exactly what had come up actually during budget deliberations. And Deputy Mayor Saffron, I know you had spoken to me about it, making sure that we weren't spending money where the results weren't going to be proper. So we do have some concerns with the base of that road, and it's better, I think, to just hold off because we don't have enough money to do it right. So in this case, there's $85,000 that we're just going to park for now, and that obviously can help with the overage on the Black Bay Road project as well. But needless to say, the budget as a whole, we're at about 65%, and I'm confident that we have room in O&M to cover off everything. As well, it should be noted that in July, I came to council to request $80,000 in additional OSIF funding to cover the guide rail installations. That may still be in play. However, the budget has not been adjusted to show that. And what I would like to do, or what I would propose, is just hold off. We're almost at the end of the fiscal year. And if we see that the budget itself is covering off all the expenses associated with Black Bay Road, maybe we should just leave that OSIF money right where it is and not transfer it over. So that's an option we can look at in December, and just keep that $80,000 in OSIF, and it can be used next year for road projects. So we'll see how it shakes down. We may still need some money, but maybe it won't be the 80,000, or maybe it won't be any at all. So that's basically my update for the budget. I hope that explains things a little bit better, but I'm confident at the end of the year everything will be looking good.
Okay, questions on the budget? Deputy Mayor Saffron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Chris. Thank you, Chris, for this really thorough explanation. I very much appreciate it. And I'm just going to say this once. These are the budget reports that I know and love from years gone by, and they're very clear, they're very thorough, and I really appreciate the work that's gone into that. So I'll just say it once, and I'll say that for every single budget, but I really appreciate the work that's gone into that. Thank you.
Further questions or comments on the transportation budget? Okay, then we'll receive that as information, and we'll go to the sewage system budget next.
Right, so under sewage, I've reviewed the budget. I didn't see anything that really concerned me. Everything's on track, and I'm happy to take questions if any council members require further explanation.
Questions on the sewage system budget? Everybody's good with that one, so we'll receive that as information and go to the waterworks budget report.
Same as the sewage budget. From where I'm looking at it, everything looks good. We're right on track. Lots of good work getting done, but again, staying within our budget portfolios.
Questions on the water budget? Okay, we'll receive that as information as well. Chris, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Busy month, and looks like you're going to be busy clearing the snow now.
For sure. Thanks, everybody. And I should just mention, because my compatriot Trevor is here, and I forgot to give a shout out to him. We would not be where we're at with Net Zero without Trevor's work and support. So I thank him so much for helping me with this. It requires a lot of time. I'll just put it that way. And he's really dug in on that and given me 110% support on that project. So thanks, Trevor. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Trevor, for your dogged determination. We're all looking forward to flipping the switch next spring. Maybe we'll let you do it.
Yes.
Did I get my certification?
Okay, thanks. Next, we'll move on to the economic development report and invite Christine to give her monthly activity report.
Thank you.
Welcome, Christine.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. This is the economic development. Oh, gotta get used to these new terms. This is the economic development report for the month of October. So as in general business development, we received and circulated a number of commercial business registrations. Dante's Delicatessen, soon to be opening in a location here in Petawawa. Eva's Pizza in the former Millennials Pizza location. Petawawa Kia has new ownership, so a new business registration is circulated for that. Car Wash Petawawa has a new occupant, VC, and will be looking to revitalize that car wash. And we did receive also Natural Health and Wellness Center in North Florida. Moving forward with those projects. We also had a number of home-based business circulations or inquiries. In the industrial park, meeting with a potential developer for a proposed site. In relation to the community improvement plan, lots of effort in trying to close out some files as we approach the end of the year and complete final contracts for some that were in the queue. Under business general, we did conduct a number of site visits with some local businesses and met with some of the new business owners. Marketing and communication, obviously we were knee-deep in Petawawa Ramble activities, finalizing the end of the Petawawa Container Market season, as well as promoting the Veteran Business Vendor Expo, which was held on November the 1st. In terms of engagements, ongoing work with the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce, attended the Algonquin College Business and Leadership Conference, for which our very own Mount Wilson Dairy Bar received the Business Innovation Award. Circling back to programs and events, the Ramble was in the month of October, a business-led event that has grown over the years. We were in our 7th edition this year. Rudy was really instrumental this year as the lead proponent, supporting the event, and certainly based on the feedback and the engagement from the businesses and the community at large, it was very successful. More than 70 displays were put out with more than 25 activities happening. A fulsome ROI, return on investment analysis, has been done and was shared and will be shared with council as part of a package that we are preparing. There was more than 1,500 people that attended the Family Day activity, which was the Sunday, in collaboration with CNL, who was the main sponsor, and we had the Culture Connect also participate. So it was a very good Sunday engagement and the last day for the market season. We do have the holiday Christmas tailgate market coming up on December the 6th, so we are in preparation and planning for that as part of the Merry and Bright Festival for our community. In terms of other activities, We did prepare materials and participate in a senior staff presentation with MP Billy Deneau, ongoing discussions with staff about various ongoing projects, collaborative projects, and are continuing to work on the economic action strategy, which will be presented to council in the month of December as part of the completion of our business retention and extension program, and necessary to complete that particular folder. And I think that's everything I would like to highlight. All the other items are itemized, and I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Christine. Questions from members of council on the report? Councilor Kuzey.
Thank you, Mayor Service. That's a question or a comment. Thank you for all that you do, but certainly please pass on to Rudy. Thanks for the ramble. I think, like many people, follows my favorite season, but I think Wrangle is specifically my favorite part of fall now. So it's a huge event for the town, and it was amazing to see the town so alive. So thank you very much.
Other questions or comments on the report? Yeah, thanks again for, I think you've spoken about it many times, but the ramble has become huge. And thanks for all your work and attracting all those people, not just from Petawawa, but from outside of our community to come here and take part. Big congratulations to Molson Dairy. That's a pretty prestigious award for them to win, so great to see that in mind. Okay, if there are no further questions, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Carmody, second by Deputy Mayor Savran, that the Economic Development Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, now your budget report.
It's not really an elaborate budget like works. Pretty simple and straightforward, although it does have some big ticket items in it. And I really do want to shout out again to the finance department. This new addition to show the revenues versus just the expenses is a nice way for council to also see where various departments are meeting or exceeding some projected targets. On that note, I will say that for business sponsorships, we're very much in line. The container market revenues are exceeding budget projections. The commemorative plaque program, council will recall that was part of the Norman Bakery Development site as part of the conversation. We did one section of a boardwalk, and these were commemorative plaques. So the idea in the 2025 budget was to continue on with that boardwalk to the end of the under, I can't remember what I want to say, the covered area. It's carried on. And so we had projected to continue to sell commemorative plaques. But based on the progress of the project, we didn't do that work. So obviously there's not going to be revenues associated with the sales because the work didn't get finished. So we will revive that potentially in 2026 as an opportunity. Grant revenue, that is for the BRNE, which we reported on before, and once the economic action strategy is adopted by council, I submit the final report, then we'll receive the payment for that particular thing. Obviously, the expenses, I believe, are really in line. The Petawawa letter sign project, we did RFQ it, we have awarded it, so it's been set for fabrication. It will be delayed for installation, simply due to the fact that we didn't complete the in and out, again, based on timelines and the acquisition of a 0.14 acre piece of property to complete that, but continuing to move the project along. The BRE project, essentially for expenses, is complete. The total budget for that did reflect some honorarium pieces, so we will have a savings return to general budget in that line item. And branding implementation, we are complete with the portion that was associated with that for syntax for 2025.
Thank you, Christine. Questions on the budget? Seeing none, we'll accept that as information. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Planning and Development, monthly activity report for October. Melanie.
Good evening. We'll start with our monthly activity report. It's only been 2 weeks since I was before council with my last update. I was out of sync, so getting back in groove. So I've highlighted a few things that's happened in the last couple of weeks. We'll just mention we're updating our subdivision agreement with Templeman. It's been several years since we've kind of gone through and modernized that template, including recognizing email communication, things like that. Plus, we got some feedback from developers about certain clauses in there, so we're working through that. We had a developer in town late August interested in seniors housing development for Petawawa, so we've been talking to them for soon and I since March, but things seem to be, the engagement seems to be escalating more now, so council may hear more about that soon. Also met with some garrison staff late in October to hear all about their development plans, both with on base and in the town proper on non-D&D home plan. So lots going on with the garrison there. We were getting all set to bring you a Bill 17 impact analysis. That was the latest bill passed by the provincial government. We were waiting to see some regulations come out to implement those, the changes in the bill. And lo and behold, on October 23rd, there was another bill passed called Bill 60, Fighting Delays Building Faster Act. So changes in that bill are on top of the changes announced in Bill 17, and there's no regulations for most of the things in those last two bills. So we're still tracking those things, but kind of waiting to see what direction the provincial government is taking. But one thing I did point out in this report was changes to development charges. The mayor received a letter on October 30th with changes that came into effect on November 3rd. So we essentially had 2 business days before those changes came into effect. And basically they are for residential development. Development charges are not due until occupancy. So they used to be due when they paid for their building permit. And then last round of changes for rental housing, purpose-built rental, developers could choose to defer to occupancy and then pay installments over several years if they so wished. But with these changes on November 3rd, all residential development can be deferred to occupancy, and rental housing has a few extra perks. They can still pay it over a number of years. So of course, that is implemented as of November 3rd. But we are meeting with Watson & Associates on Friday this week just to go over the changes, make sure we fully understand them, what the next changes are, and how to get our bylaw updated. So kind of continuing changes on the planning and building front, and it's challenging to keep up with them all. And last thing I'll mention is we set up an ad hoc committee for backyard chickens. So just take all the feedback that we've received and kind of what does council want to do with some of this feedback. So we've got some members of council that are willing to sit on the committee. I reached out at the end of last week to any member of the public who provided written or verbal feedback. Heard back from 3 of the 5 that they're all excited to be on the committee. So we'll be scheduling a meeting later this week for the next week or 2, depending on how schedules align. Try and get that bylaw moved forward with something. Instead of keep coming back to you and what do you think about this and then go away and come back. So we'll lean on the committee to help us come back to council with some feedback based on the feedback. In Appendix A, active planning applications, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Key Estates Phase 2-1, so that got final approved 5 months ago at the beginning of June, and we've already issued 20 building permits in there. So it's a busy street, Jade, and a little bit of Marquee, and there's 2 houses on it, but lots of activity. I drove through there today, and it was madness. Lots going on, but very busy there. The other subdivision that we have coming up is the James W. LaPointe subdivision on Black Bay Road. We have been talking about layout and draft conditions of approval with the proponent in the county over the last many months, but we all agreed on the conditions and we're just waiting for a final signature at the county. So expecting that to be draft approved any day. So then we'll have another subdivision with 70 lots coming online as they meet the conditions. And then lastly, McCray excavating the quarry official plan and zoning amendment file. So as part of applying to the Ministry of Natural Resources, McCray had to provide a bunch of technical reports. There's 7 or 8 of them. It's part of the process that the ministry or the town can request that those reports be peer reviewed by other experts. So we've had a number of those reports peer reviewed, and we finished reviewing the peer review reports. So we're just checking in with the peer reviewers on a couple things, and then all of that input will go back to McCray, and the experts can talk to the experts and sort of a few things there. But just I know we've had some people inquiring here at Town Hall what the status is, so just wanted to let you know that we're working our way through all of these expert reports. And then in Appendix B for building permits, usually the last 3 years since 2022 at least, the town's been issuing about 300 building permits a year with a building permit value gross total around 45 million. So we've hit the 300 permits already by the end of October, but basically trending towards our normal annual averages. And I'm happy to answer any questions on any of that.
Thank you, Melanie. Questions or comments? Councilor Carmen?
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks, Melanie, for the report. And I can sympathize with all of the regulatory legislative changes coming down the pipe as the town grows at the rate that we're growing, and it's going to be difficult to navigate that, especially with the regulations and the funds. They're not defined at all, and that's where the need of everything lies. So it's going to be difficult. But there's so much discussion about building more, and building it faster. And we hear of regulations that are not in place and legislation that is not got the national regulations. Are things happening faster?
I think that's very situation dependent. In some places, you read in the literature that, there's still a number of challenges. Other places seem to be managing through it. So I'm not sure what the federal government's perspective is on if things are being built faster. I also heard at the Eastern Ontario Housing Summit that there's tens of thousands of new housing units sitting empty because nobody can afford them. So things are being built, but people can't afford to buy them as well. So.
Deputy Mayor Southern?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Melanie, we just point of interest on I haven't had access to my email since last week, and I can't get that rectified. So if you have been sending things out and I have not responded, it's because I can't. So just an FYI. But thank you very much for the report, and I'm very excited and hopefully about the good news with respect to the developer and seniors housing. We were in Ottawa this past weekend in the Centrum area, and the development that's going on just in that area is absolutely gobsmacking. I mean, it's all over the place, and there's a lot of seniors homes and a lot of other types of living accommodations. So hopefully that will certainly benefit our seniors as we more and more people choose to retire here in town Petawawa. And so any information I can't share anymore, but I'll wait for when we can. Thank you very much.
Councilor Cooper?
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry about that. Going back to the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act, I noticed that public comments are open until November 22nd. anyone wants to go and check it out and make public comment. I'm just wondering, I think maybe sometimes I've heard the planning department will do this. Do you plan on making any comments or feedback to these proposed changes? Because some of them are, I mean, may affect us a fair bit when it comes to standardizing official plans and things like that.
So we haven't really discussed submitting something specifically from the town because the Association of Municipalities in Ontario, like AMO, they've been on it, and so has our Provincial Planning Institute. So we've been kind of looking at the feedback that they provide, and that's the feedback that we would provide as well. But we are reading the environment, like the ERO postings and seeing what the comments are and getting a general flavor for what the public comments are. Some of the changes are like what kinds of studies we can ask for what kinds of applications, which then they're supposed to be standardizing that across the province. Latest, Bill 60, they're talking about a standard table of contents for all municipal plants, which is kind of interesting. But there's no more detail than that. Minor variances, there were some changes proposed in Bill 17 that, you know, for certain yard setbacks, if you were within 10% of the zoning requirement, you'd be fine, you didn't need a committee of adjustment approval. And then in Bill 60 now, they're proposing to expand that to other zoning provisions, but there's no regulations even on the first zoning provision. So that's the kind of thing that we're watching it. We just don't know, you know, any details yet.
Further questions or comments on the report? Yeah, we all sympathize with you and your department, Melanie. These changes are coming down fast and furious and not giving you much lead time really to make the necessary changes and to keep up. So it's good that you have a department of 3 to try and keep up with all these changes. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the Planning and Development Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll come to the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we'll hear about your budget.
Sure, so the first budget is the building budget. So just to remind council, the goal with the building budget is to have the revenues equal or exceed the expenses so that the building department is cost neutral. You can see from the report that so far revenues are exceeding expenses by about $45,000, but we should be closer to that cost neutral by the end of the year. So basically, revenue that we take in from building permits and septic permits pays for our 2 building positions and the costs associated with having them. With the planning budget, we're about 83% of the year calendar-wise, and budget about 74% spent. So we're right on target, I would say. We've had some savings because we had a planner vacancy for 2.5 months. But other than that, things are kind of progressing. Most of our budget is personal budget. So we're progressing as expected. Happy to answer any questions on either of those.
Questions on the budget? And it's great to see your whole department now and their new offices and all next to each other so that you can work as one cohesive unit. Okay, we'll receive that for information. Thank you, Melanie. Okay, next we have finance. FIN-22-2025, the October 2025 expenditure report. Paula, good to see you back.
Thank you. So the October 2025 expenditure report shows the check number 6,345 to 6,579, totaling $1,894,072.83 be approved by council. Starting in 2025, we have reverted to report to the council the list of checks issued for the month. And the high-level summary of the checks issued for October 2025 are: number of vendors paid were 189. Total dollar amount of checks issued, again, $1,894,072.83. Average dollar value per check is $8,059.88. The total number of invoices paid were 641, and the average dollar value per invoice was $2,954.87. The number of vendors that were paid over 100,000 were 5. And in the highest to lowest of the 5 are JWK contracts for $292,133.20. That was for the Public Works contract for the Civic Center parking lot upgrades. It was the holdback release up to September 30th inclusive. Then in second was Ontario Clean Water Agency. It's our monthly contract for the water and sewer service contract of $218,327.96. And third, Minister of Finance and our policing. We had a policing revenue credit of $7,055.60 for the months of April to June 25, and for the policing services in September of 2025 of $150,172, rounding out to $143,116.40. Then we have Miller Waste Systems of $126,974.03. That is for fibers, organics, recycling, and waste collection, as well as our bulky item in September of 2025. And our fifth one was our Move Mobility Inc. It was $112,436.90 for our rear entry accessible van, which arrived last week. So that totals, those top 5 total $892,988.49, which equates to 47.15% of the invoices paid in October. The checks have been processed and issued, and this is to ensure council is informed of the expenses incurred for the month reported. This information will help to ensure transparent and fair, effective governance through reporting to the public and council. And the attachment was the October 2025 expenditure reports. I would like to point out that it has been brought to our attention that the way that the report breaks out in this report, whenever we have more than one invoice being paid, it has a tendency to misalign on the paper. I have gone back and double checked all the checks, the check stubs, we have all those on file, and it's just the way the report is pulling. So I have put in a call to our ERP system to try to get that fixed. It doesn't want to use the same invoice number twice, even though we have a couple of different GLs tied to that one invoice. So that it looked a little askew in a couple of spots. For instance, the TD visa, we did not pay AMO for seniors' expenses. Any questions?
Thanks, Paula. Any questions on the finance report? Okay, seeing none, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that check numbers 6345 to 6579 totaling $1,894,072.83 be approved by council. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Yes, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula. Okay, next we have the Legislative Services Report, LEG-12-2025, the award for request for proposal, TW-26-2025, Animal Control Bylaw Parking Enforcement Services. John, very exciting meeting.
Thank you, your service. So as council's aware, we tendered for the first time in 2020 for animal control and separately for bylaw parking. This time when we issued our RFP, we gave bidders the opportunity to bid for animal control, bylaw parking as all in one. As previously we did have one company in 2020 said they only wanted to be considered if they got both contracts. So they would have had to been disqualified because they qualified their bid. So this time we gave them the option to do that. So when we issued the RFP, We had 7 firms that requested the package, and we had 4 that submitted complete proposals by the closing date. The proposal, this would be again for a 3-year contract beginning December 1st, 25 to November 30th, 28, with the option to extend for another 2-year period as our previous RFP. Following our review, they were reviewed by our CAO, myself, and our coordinator of legislative services. Thank you. And following our review, we had 2 companies that were basically tied. So we wanted to delve further into their submissions. So we did our reference checks, we did interviews with both companies as well. And following that review, unanimously, we have endorsed staff the Municipal Law Enforcement Services for their contract. They are locally based out of Renfrew, Ontario. They've been in operation for 20 years. They have 13 other municipalities that they provide service to and are able to expand to include us. They provide the turnkey operation. And they also have a dispatch service, which I was very impressed with, that provides 24/7. So the calls will be answered 24/7. And again, they'll prioritize based on emergency. If it's an emergency, it'll be responded to right away. If it's not an emergency, within 1 hour, contact with the complainant and action could be taken or deferred based on the seriousness of the call. Like if it's at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's something that can wait until 8. We'll do that. So, for short, we call them MLES. We don't keep saying the full name. They're ready and committed to begin the provision of the animal control bylaw and parking on December 1st. Under financial implications, so currently between our 2 contractors for the year, we would have paid approximately $237,000 plus HST for the 2 contracts. For the first year of the bid from MLES, it will be $208,000 plus HST. So we're anticipating a savings of approximately $29,000 for the first year of the contract. So at this time, staff is recommending that Council awards RFP PW 26-2025 to Municipal Law Enforcement Services in the amount of $208,000 plus HST for year 1. So that's December 1st to November 30th of 2026 of the 3-year animal control bylaw parking enforcement services contract with the option to renew for an additional 2-year period.
Thank you, Don. And I'll just point out that that includes the animal control services on the garrison project as well. Okay, questions on the report? Deputy Mayor Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Don. Don, thanks very much for this report, and really great to see that there's cost savings when it's amalgamated, as well as the increasiness of the garrison. So that's pretty cool. My only question was in relation to years number 2, 3, and 4. I didn't see a percentage increase or anything like that. Is it a standard 3% increase, or how is that going to be handled?
So that was included in the request for the RFP. So year 2 is $212,160 plus HST, and year 3 is $216,403.20.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Further questions on the report? Okay, I think it's great that we have one company that's going to provide wraparound service and 24/7 service as well. Some questions also came up in terms of available employees, and the company has said that they have employees ready to go and ready to hit the ground running on December 5th. So they don't have to go out and hire. These employees are fully trained and ready to go. So it looks like it's going to be a seamless transition between what we're presently doing and what we will receive, only with a bit of expansion of services. Plus the savings. So I think it's a win-win all around. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, if you're comfortable then I need a motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sadler, seconded by Councilor Carmody. The Council awards request for proposal PW-26-2025 Animal Control Bylaw parking enforcement services to municipal law enforcement services in the amount of $208,000 plus HST for year one, which is December 1st, 2025 to November 30th, 2026, of the 3-year animal control bylaw parking enforcement services contract, with the option to renew for an additional 2-year period. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Don, for that report. A lot of work went into that. Okay, there's nothing for general matters, no closed meeting, so I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the meeting be adjourned at the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
I don't know who the initiative is on.